The Baldwins, Hilaria Baldwin, a very fluid narcissist, Part 10. You'll recall that what Hilaria Baldwin was bringing to the party was good looks, flexible body, and the fact that she's a yoga instructor. And our first visit is to an article in page 6 by Kirsten Fleming, 29th of May 2014, headed Hilaria Baldwin defends yoga pics with Twitter rant. Hilaria Baldwin has gone from downward dog to attack dog. The prolific Instagram yogi, who posts daily photos of herself in improbable twists and poses everywhere from the streets of Manhattan to the business class cabin of an airplane, took umbrage at the post-Thursday story highlighting some of yoga's biggest show-offs. So first of all, let's analyse what we have there. Daily photographs of herself. Well, the cult of the selfie manifests once again. Not all people that engage in the production of selfies are narcissists, but it is a narcissistic indicator. And posting them on a daily basis on social media is a clear indicator of a need to assert control through social media, the desire to draw fuel, the maintenance of a particular facade of being this interesting yogi, and accordingly is a significant indicator. Moreover, she posts photos of her doing it everywhere from the streets of Manhattan to business class cabin of an airplane. Thus, sense of entitlement to invade your world at any given moment, showing off her world. Lack of accountability for the behaviours. And as I talk to you, there's a picture of her showing her in the street with a stroller with, I think, a baby or a toddler in it. And she's there blocking the sidewalk, basically making the letter T. One leg down, one leg behind her, arms in front as she stares. And somebody's had to take the photograph. Self-indulgent, self-entitled behaviour, blocking the sidewalk, no accountability for the impact that it has on other people. And of course, the showmanship that goes with that particular narcissistic trait. I'm not doing this in a yoga studio, I'm doing this on the sidewalk. I'm not doing this in a yoga studio, I'm doing it in the business class cabin. Returning to the article, the feature called out Baldwin's appetite for attention, with established yogis dismissing her photos as a publicity stunt and lacking in humility. Well, absence of humility is something that is invariably seen with the behaviour of a narcissist. The normally cooler and much more limber Baldwin took to social media to vigorously defend her incessant posing, calling it yoga awareness. First of all, the fact that she floods social media with her daily posts demonstrates the repeated need to assert control, a lack of accountability for the behaviour, and a sense of entitlement. The fact that, of course, she has been called out for this apparent appetite for attention threatens her sense of control. It's challenge fuel. She's given fuel by the responses, so that isn't a problem, but thereafter she is met with criticism, basically trying to hold her to account for her behaviours. That threatens her innate sense of control, and therefore her narcissism responds, causing her to go on the attack. So she writes, "You are allowed to have your own opinion. You're allowed to have your own opinions, but mine is that spreading yoga awareness is always okay." Haughty, self-entitled, dismissive. You can have an opinion, but I'll immediately dismiss it by saying that mine's better. I know negativity and bullying sell, but what would happen if we promoted positivity instead? What would happen if we supported each other? Fake compassion. This happens because teachers have evolved the practice and aren't afraid to take chances. I take chances every day with my hashtag Hilaria PD, I think it is. Grandiosity. True yogis don't make harsh judgments, so my advice to the haters, get on your yoga mat and breathe and feel until you make peace with diversity. High-handed, grandiose response. And one more thing, they aren't selfies unless you take them yourself. They are just pictures, plain old yoga pictures. Namaste. Pedantry. This is why I promote yoga. If this year I manage to encourage you to be healthier, then it will be a great success. Patronising. And those were 6 tweets. And probably there were more. Typically, a narcissist, when threatened, will turn to the indirect assertion of control by utilising social media. In some instances, there will be the direct assertion of control, where she has directed the tweets at the particular person. And we know of other narcissists that relish using social media in this fashion. Think, for instance, Piers Morgan, Donald Trump, and of course Alec Baldwin are just a few of the examples. So the use of social media to promote, then the use of social media to indirectly assert control, evidenced in this particular news article. Now, to present further evidence to you, there is a succession of articles that all go to prove similar points. And of course, I could take you through each and every one, reading them out to you and dissecting them, but this would take an inordinate amount of time, and there's other matters that we need to get onto. So what I'm going to do is just take you through the various headlines for these articles so that you can see a pattern for yourself of relevant behaviours. So November 28, 2014, Hilaria Baldwin shows off cooking and body in yoga pose, and there's a picture of her in the kitchen wearing shorts and a cropped top while she's in a yoga pose, reaching with an oven glove for something in the oven. A highly observed picture, but of course no shame here. Look at me. Grandiosity, assertion of control. Next, Alec Baldwin, wife Hilaria expecting baby number 2. 2015 is going to be very exciting as we are thrilled to announce we're expecting another little addition to our family, shared Hilaria. Now, of course, any parent is invariably proud of the birth of their child or children. But of course, with a narcissist, it gets repeated mentions and it's plastered everywhere, part of the facade management of looking like a caring parent. Then, that was January the 1st, 2015. 18 days later, pregnant Hilaria Baldwin strips down to lingerie. And it's worth just having a little dip in, actually, to this article, because this is shared to her 940,000 followers, although I think there were less at that stage. And there's a picture of her, which is in a bathroom, and she's just there in a lingerie. And yes, she's got a good figure, and she's just showing off a tiny bump. And of course, when you put yourself on social media in this way, where you are showing the world your life because of the need to assert control and draw fuel, you're going to get some people who will comment adversely. And the article explains that despite many encouraging remarks about her photo, some commentators said that the image was inappropriate. Not to be silenced by the haters, Hilaria shared a very candid response saying, "If you don't want to see my belly grow, unfollow, as there will be more pics and I don't want to hear any negativity." Well, of course, she's correct in what she states. If you don't want to see it, unfollow. But notice that's putting the blame on other people. Namely, you need to stop looking at me. I'm going to carry on doing what I want, irrespective of what you think, because I'm perfectly entitled to do what I need to do, and you better put up with it or go away. Sense of entitlement. Assertion of control by nullifying the threat in this manner, indirectly by talking about the supposed haters. We then have the announcement that she and Alec welcomed a baby boy, Raphael, June 27, 2015. Then she is involved in the third child. That's announced in March 2016. Then she celebrates third pregnancy with another underwear selfie in March 15, 2016. Then we're told about the fact that she's moving to Los Angeles, 31st of March 2016. Then Hilaria Baldwin has to tell everybody that everybody thinks that I'm the nanny, because she talks about having 2 blonde-haired, blue-eyed children. People at the park always ask me if I am the nanny. Do we need to know this? No, we don't. But her narcissism dictates that she has to tell us all of this for the purposes of ensuring that she remains in the news, just like somebody else we comment about frequently. Then there's another article showing her and Alec perusing a 16.5 million penthouse as her due date appears again. And in September the 6th, 2016, it's reported that she looks ready to pop with her third child. Then there's the announcement of their son and another photo shared of it. And then thereafter, we have another article again involving Hilaria Baldwin. Notice that we have a pattern so far, which is, here's my life, you better put up with it. here I am doing what I want to do. Here I am pregnant again. Here I am in my lingerie. Here I am with the birth of my children, living her life through social media. What is she actually? She's a yoga instructor. That's it. She's not particularly special. She's physically attractive and married to a famous man. Has she talent as a yoga instructor? Probably. Is she the best yoga instructor in the world? Unlikely. But notice that there is this repeated need to share the mundanities of her life as if they are something remarkably special, as if she's the first person in the world to ever get pregnant or have children. Millions of people do it every single day. And of course, for her, it has to be demonstrated to the world because to do so allows her narcissism to assert control over people generally with these repeated pronouncements of what's going on in her life, sharing every little detail about what's going on, pushing it through Instagram to receive the comments, which are fuel, and of course to utilise it then as residual benefit with regard to a facade. Another article provides us with an instance of the assertion of control exhibited over Alec Baldwin, and this was written in April 18th, 2017, where it states, "It takes a strong woman to deal with the self-righteous ego of Alec Baldwin." But the actor who's been lampooning President Trump on SNL to acclaim says he has met his match with wife Hilaria. When asked how donning the orange makeup to play Trump has played into his career redemption, he told Gothamist that Hilaria won't let him act the diva. Assertion of control. "My wife has a line, it's a wonderful line." He's flattering her, which is his way of asserting control over her, notwithstanding that there appears to be an admission by him that she wears the trousers, so to speak. It isn't. It's not a genuine admission by him. His narcissism allows him to say this to make him look like that she is the one that has him under control. But his narcissism, by allowing him to share this, is asserting control itself. And this is an instance where a situation where narcissists collide, that there can be a degree of coexistence. I will be talking in a later section about the dynamic between the two of them in greater detail, but it's worth touching on at this point to increase your understanding of narcissism and the dynamic between two narcissists. Namely, he looks like he's saying, she's the one that's in charge and I just do as I'm told. So his quote is, "My wife has a line, it's a wonderful line. If I'm whining, kvetching about something, my wife will turn to me and she'll say, 'Nobody feels sorry for Alec Baldwin.' She'll turn literally to anybody on the street corner and, 'Do you feel sorry for Alec Baldwin? Anyone? Anyone?' Now, his admission of that might look like him saying, 'Oh, actually, she's the one that's in control here,' but it's not. By him sharing that revelation, that allows his narcissism to assert control because he's the one who's decided to do this and to share it in a way that's deemed to be humorous. Of course, at the time when this occurs, with her saying that to him, she's asserting control over him by being dismissive and by triangulating him with other people by saying, do you feel sorry for Alec Baldwin? And therefore, she asserts control in that moment, and thereafter Alec Baldwin utilises that by appearing to be kept under control by her, but actually his narcissism only allows that revelation as part of his assertion of control over her. And that's a useful indicator of an instance of coexistence between the two, but as I say, this is something that I will be going back to. Continuing the stroll through these various headlines, so you get the flavour as we march up to the more recent events, we're then told about the fact that they're renewing their wedding vows, and that they're expecting their fourth child, and they're having a boy. And then the fact that Hilaria Baldwin is then providing post-baby body advice, which apparently angers the internet. Demonstrates self-entitled behaviour, telling people what they should do and what they should not do. Lack of accountability for that behaviour. Then we're told, this is October 30th, 2018, that they're debating having a child. Then it goes on to talking about having 4 kids in 4 years. Then talking about she's likely experiencing a miscarriage. And then she posts that she wants women to stick together after miscarriage. And then she appears again saying she's pretty sure her pregnancy isn't going to stick. Pity play, oversharing, lack of boundary recognition. And then we move on to another post, which is through her Instagram, where this is in April 9th, 2019. And she explains, "They're in this together. Last week, Hilaria Baldwin revealed in an emotional Instagram post last week that she was likely experiencing miscarriage. Whilst a miscarriage is clearly something that is a very sad event for the person experiencing it, it's a private matter and doesn't need to be shared across social media, save a narcissist will do so. And of course, you know that Harry's wife has engaged in this behaviour, Chrissy Teigen has engaged in this behaviour, and now Hilaria Baldwin. All feeling the need to share a deeply personal and private matter with everybody else who cares to look at the notification." She uploaded to her account, "That day after the ultrasound, I came home and felt so sad. For me, community is healing. So I started to write an Instagram post." She wrote in an essay for Glamour, assertion of control, facade management, oversharing, boundary recognition issue. "I want to share with you that I am most likely experiencing a miscarriage." I read it to Alec and showed him the photo, and then as we sat together, I hit share. In the essay, the yoga guru also revealed that she and her husband weren't actively trying for a fifth child, but had talked about the possibility of having one more. "When my husband and I found out I was pregnant for the fifth time, we hadn't been actively trying, but we knew we wanted one more baby," Hilaria wrote. "Our youngest is only 10 months old, so at first there was a moment of, oh my God, we're doing this again. But then came the excitement. I found out my due date, my body began changing, and I started dreaming, will it be a boy or a girl? What will we name him or her?" Hilaria revealed on the Today Show Tuesday morning that a scan this afternoon will reveal if her pregnancy is viable. So notice also about this. She doesn't actually know for certain whether she is having a miscarriage or not. She's already seeking fuel and asserting control by talking about something that might not actually happen. And there is this shameless utilisation of a tragic event, or a potentially tragic event, in order to enable her, of course, to assert control through pity play and triangulation. And of course, shortly thereafter, she then has to talk about the fact that she has miscarried and goes on a television show to explain that there was no heartbeat today at my scan, so it's over. And then thereafter, another post where she tells us that she's being super gentle with her body after miscarriage. And all of this represents the continued need to tell the world about what's going on in her life. Poor boundary recognition, sense of entitlement, absence of emotional empathy for how that makes people feel, and a lack of accountability for her behaviours. Yet it continues. Let's talk about where she interrupts, where her husband is engaging in a talk with the director. Sense of entitlement, need to assert control by interrupting. Narcissists are often individuals that will repeatedly interrupt people because we have to speak and you have to listen. And again it continues, this time onto the fifth child, telling that they're pregnant with the fifth child, then revealing the gender of the fifth child, and then a second miscarriage, which everybody has to know about. And then she updates fans from hospital bed after the miscarriage, almost akin to Chrissy Teigen with her shots of her misfortune in the hospital. Then telling everybody that they'll try for another baby after the miscarriage. Then, on the 27th of November 2019, typically because you live your life through social media, as an individual such as she does, she faces criticism. And an article dated 27th of November 2019 states as follows. Hilaria Baldwin has responded to online trolls and critics who've accused her of publicising her recent miscarriage for attention. And they're absolutely right. It is done to assert control and draw fuel. All of a sudden, I started getting negative comments about my miscarriage, Hilaria 35 revealed via her Instagram stories. Attention seeker, too old, disgusting, losing a baby at any stage is hitting rock bottom. Rock bottom sucks, she continued, pity play. But rock bottom is also eye-opening, because you understand and have experienced true pain. It makes the trolls seem even smaller than they usually are. Nullification of threat to control by dismissive behaviour. because no words they can use can ever compare to what you have lost. Hilaria went on to defend other women who have been bullied over something so sensitive. Fake compassion, calling out those who are bringing cruelty to the world that is wrong. You are contributing to feelings of shame, fear, insufferable pain. Exhibition of cognitive empathy. It is for this reason that I have stepped forward and shared as I have, not for attention, but because it is my life story, and I decide to open up. You think I wanted this? Well, Hilaria, do you think everybody wanted to know about what's going on in your life? No, you don't think about that because your narcissism doesn't allow you to do so. You think everybody needs to know what's happening with your pregnancy. As I've just detailed in this particular part, article after article after article that follows your repeated pronouncements and announcements on social media about your pregnancy, your miscarriage, your birth, your pregnancy, your birth, the various things that are occurring in your world. Of course, her narcissism operates so that she doesn't see all of this, that she fails to recognise that she's asserting control, that she fails to recognise that she's seeking fuel. She honestly thinks that it's right and proper for her to live her life through social media. Her narcissism makes her believe that she's supporting other people, that she's educating other people. That is the motivating factor for it. And she explained that talking about both issues and losses makes it more real for her and helped her heal. I believe when you go through something difficult, the sooner you make it into something real, you can do something with it. Well, fair enough, but go and do that in private. But you won't, because your narcissism won't allow that to happen. And thus it continues. And once again, we get another picture of her in her lingerie, showing off the baby bump. And then she posts a tribute to her daughter on what would have been the due date. Again, the oversharing of a private matter. Then she defends having a nanny for her 4 kids. Then we're told about the birth of her 5th child. Then there's a new name. Then she talks about the fact that she conquers multitasking whilst breastfeeding. In this article, again, the necessity of the assertion of control by telling everybody, look at me. I've got all of these kids and I can multitask even though I've got a nanny. The article explains, as a mother of 5, Hilaria Baldwin obviously knows her stuff when it comes to breastfeeding, taking to social media Saturday to show off her multitasking skills while feeding newborn son Eduardo Paul Lucas Baldwin. 3.5 days in and we are champs at multitasking, wrote Hilaria, 36, beside a photo of herself breastfeeding while brushing her teeth and taking the selfie. How about you, dear viewers? Why don't you next time, your lads, while you're cracking one off on the toilet with some porn in your hand, also get somebody to take a picture of you and say, hey, look, I'm multitasking, looking at porn, cracking one off while thinking about going down the pub tonight, and then stick it on social media. Because that's the equivalent. This is once again the necessity of the assertion of control. Look at me, I'm really good, I can multitask, I've got a toothbrush in my mouth and a baby on my boob, and I can also take a photo of this event. Have you considered whether your child wants to be in this photograph? No, because it's all about you. It's all about the necessity of what you want. You don't care about that child. You think you do. But the fact that you're putting him on social media when he's, 3.5 days old, without any due regard for what that might impact upon him at a later juncture. And this is entirely typical of this repeated behaviour. And in the article, there's a picture beneath which shows Alec Baldwin asleep on the sofa, surrounded by 4 of the children, and I think Hilaria in there as well. No, 5 of the children. She's got one in her lap. So everybody falling asleep, but somebody else has been invited to take a photograph of them all together. Again, this is a private matter in their home where they're tired out as a consequence of the newborn arriving, just like many millions of other couples around the world, but they don't feel any need to share this on such a scale with anybody else. And on it goes. The headlines keep coming. Hilaria Baldwin says maybe to 6th kid. Hilaria Baldwin thinks brood is fine at 5. Hilaria Baldwin breaks ankle while out on a run. Hey, she's suffered an injury. You've suffered injuries. Did you put it on social media and tell everybody else about it? No. And it goes on. Hilaria Baldwin poses in lingerie 3 months after giving birth to Eduardo. And then the Baldwin family match in pyjamas on Christmas morning. And this elongated part just goes to evidence the amount of times that this individual has to assert control through social media, exhibiting a lack of boundary recognition, operating with a sense of entitlement, engaging in manipulative behaviour through triangulation, pity play, flattery, the nullification of threats to control where she's criticised. And that stroll through a multiplicity over a number of years, and there's far more material than that which I've just selected, believe me, goes to exhibit numerous indicators of her narcissism. Now, join me in part 11 as we close in on the issue of the reveal about her particular cultural appropriation of being Spanish.